All right, we're recording. All right, guys. Caleb Roth with Stain and Seal Experts here doing another Staining University Staining 101 webinar tonight. Appreciate you guys coming. Looks like there's quite a few of you here tonight, and I really appreciate your time. I know it's family time, but this information may help one of you guys or maybe all of you guys out if you're new to bidding deck jobs. It used to really frustrate me, and I didn't know how to do it, and now I do it a certain way and it works the same every single time. So that's the idea. That's what we're doing tonight. Talk about bidding deck jobs. A quick 30-second view of who I am for those of you that don't know. Caleb Roth. I'm in the Nashville, Tennessee market. And I grew up in the fence business. From the time I was a little kid, family business was the fence business. I grew up doing every job that you could do in the fencing business. And I was always the low man on the totem pole. So if something had to be stained or sealed, it was me. And I hated it. It was terrible. I didn't know how to do it. It was difficult. And I didn't like it. So fast forward me in my mid-20s, I decided one day, I guess you might call it a calling from God, to go learn how to stain fences, because this is going to be the answer to help me to make more money, because I had a young family and was broke, running in the family business and just not really making any money. So I learned how to stain fences, and it just snowballed, took off, and here we are today. Now, full-time in the fence staining business, been doing this stain full-time since 2012, and man, it's going well. And I just want to share some of what mistakes we've learned along the way, share it with you, and maybe it will help you to not make those same mistakes. So let's get started. So I'm going to do just a really quick about the staining industry if you don't know, just so you kind of know what we're talking about here. So the global wood coatings market was valued at $7.8 billion in 2018. It's projected to reach around 12 billion by 2025, according to Allied Market Research. But that number was taken, that was in 2018. As we know, inflation, a lot of things have gone up, lumber shortages. So I think the number is probably going to be closer to 15 to maybe $20 billion by 2025. That's bigger than the fencing industry. That's bigger than a lot of industries. It's a big industry. So the point being is this is a big freaking pie, and there's plenty of seats at the table. So if you think maybe you're in, many of you guys come from underdeveloped markets, and you could be the original staining contractor in your market. But also there's a lot of you guys that are in highly developed markets, like maybe Dallas, Fort Worth. Those markets have largely grown complacent, and maybe a new kid on the block could be you. You could really make your mark on the marketplace. So I don't want you to feel like it's too competitive, because it's really not. The staining industry, specifically fencing and decking, is really not. There's definitely room for all of us here at the table. So what can you stain? Pretty simple. You can stain. It's a ton of opportunities. You can stain fencing, decking, old fences, new fences. You can do deck restoration, fence restoration, pergolas, patio covers, gazebos, shutters, boat docks, railing, pre-staining. There's all kind of stuff you can do in the business. And there are 3 really fast ways to get into the business. If you're already in business, maybe you're a fence contractor, a deck builder, a power washer, painting company, you can find a contractor and refer this work out to just the contractor. Find a good sub, and you basically, you're not really going to make any money by referring this stuff out. I said subcontractor. I did not mean subcontractor. I meant referral. You can find somebody to refer work to, and you won't make money on it, but you will offer a better service to your clients, and your jobs, your fences, your decks, your power wash jobs will look better because they're stained and sealed. So you're going to give more value to your client base, and obviously your job with your sign on it's going to look better than everybody else's in the neighborhood. So second thing you can do is hire a subcontractor. What I alluded to earlier, you can definitely hire a subcontractor. It's a great thing. My company, we subcontract for other fence companies. We do it all the time. And it's a great way to add revenue without adding much overhead to your current operation. And you can also start your own crew. So some of you guys want to start your own crew, or maybe you're already doing it. It's a great way to add services, or maybe start a whole new business. So with that being said, let's go and talk about bidding deck jobs. I just wanted to blow through those things real quick, just so you guys know how to get started in the business if you don't. And we've got other podcasts, webinars, etc., videos on that. So today we're talking about bidding deck jobs. Get a lot of questions about this. And used to, back in the day, I would basically look at a deck and I would go, that looks like a $700 deck to me. That looks like a $500 deck. That looks like a $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 deck job. I had no idea how to bid them. And I was very, very proficient at bidding jobs, bidding very complex jobs, bidding, fencing, working in high-end architectural projects for fencing. So I knew how to bid, but decks just, for some reason, I couldn't wrap my mind around it. So I finally figured out a process that works, and I'm going to share it with you. So I'm gonna kind of talk to you about decks for a minute here, pricing and things like that based on market survey. So decks use less material than fences, requires less moving around, and generally have a higher profit margin than most other stain jobs. So you can make some money staining decks is what I'm trying to say. I got a simple formula, the way I quote them. I bid decks on the floor and landings square footage. So a floor or landing would be any flat, the flats. So in speaking specifically, the floor space, anything that you're going to walk on, I'll quote that by the square foot. I need to know that number. Number two is the steps. How many steps are there? And then railing, linear footage of railing. And that is it. That is the three things. How many square feet is the fence? How many steps is there? And what's the linear footage of railing? Those are the three metrics that I want to use on every single deck job. Now, there are extra things that we run into sometimes, maybe deck skirting. I do that by the square foot, maybe deck posts, support post on top of or underneath. And we do those by each. We do those tall and short. So if it's 8 feet or less, we have one price. If it's 8.5, if it's over 8 feet, we have another price. Extra masking. Maybe you can't get to the deck from the ground. You got to use a ladder or you got to come through the house. Always different variables that you can build off of. You can build your pricing off of your, you want to add those to your three metrics. So as long as you got the three things, it'll keep you consistent. And then if you say, hey, we got to go in through the house, add a little extra for this, add a little extra for extra masking. Those things are simple. We got our three things: square footage, steps, and linear footage of railing. All right. And if you got questions on this, I'm going to do a ton of Q&A at the end. But if you got one, you just got to get out, you're afraid you'll forget it or something, just type it in the chat box or the Q&A. There is a Q&A box also that you can do in. And if you don't have it already on your screen, go to the bar at the top, and then there'll be a Q&A and a chat box. So do those. And if you ask a question and I don't see it, you can raise your hand too. I'm not sure how to do that on my end, but you can raise your hand. So housekeeping, appreciate it. All right. So bidding decks, part 2. This is an example deck. The deck here in this picture is a little small deck. It's not very big, right? That job won't take very long. One man can get out there and do that in just a few hours by hand. So let's talk about it. That deck is a 10-foot by 12-foot deck. That's 120 square feet. Average pricing that we see on the internet in our stain group, where we got about 3,200 contractors in there, just random guys we've surveyed. The average is about $4 a foot. It may be $2 a foot somewhere, it may be $6 a foot somewhere else, but 4 is pretty close to the average. And that's $480 for that floor space. There are 2 steps. The average in the marketplace to stain 2 steps, about $25 a piece. So $50 worth of step staining. And then there's 34 feet of railing going around this deck, which $6 a foot is pretty average for the railing. And that's linear foot, not square foot, linear foot. And that's $204. So there's the way we would bid that job right there. And let's talk about what it's going to actually cost me to stain this job. So if we send one guy out there, it's going to be 3 to 4 man hours if he's doing it by hand. If it's being done with a sprayer with 1 or 2 guys, very conservatively, it can be done in 1 to 2 man hours. So worst case scenario, we got about $100 labor in this project. Material used, we're going to use about 3 gallons of stain. The average contractor's paying somewhere around $107.66 for that 3 gallons of stain, specifically deck stain. And so our total price is $734. Our cost in the job is $207.66, leaving us a gross profit of $526.34. So if this makes sense, maybe it doesn't. So what we're doing here, 734 would be the sale price. So 480 for the square footage, 50 for the steps, and 204 for the railing adds up to $734. You subtract out your cost, which is your labor and materials. That's your cost of goods sold, which is $207.66. You're left with $526.34 gross profit, which gives you a gross profit margin of 71.71%. That's a darn good margin. Most of you guys in the fence business and different trades are probably working 30 to 50%. And I recommend being at least a 50% profit margin. Then that looks like the national average for a deck's a little higher than that. So that's how I recommend you bid decks. And I'm not going to tell you what numbers to charge for each of these line items. That's kind of going to be left for you to sit down and figure out. And but the easy way to figure it out is to do just that. If you change your square footage price from $4 to $3, well, you know it's going to be $120 less. So you might get closer to that 50% margin range where you need to be competitive, to grow, and to be profitable, but not be overcharging or maybe price yourself out of where your competitors are going to be. So there you go. If that makes sense, we'll keep moving. But that's a real simple formula. All right, that's it. So, I mean, that is pretty much it. It's simple as that. I'm now going to, we're going to go through a couple of jobs, and I'm just going to bang them out here. We're just going to look at some different jobs and just break them down real quick. And I'm going to tell you how I'm doing this, either by pictures or by actually being there physically in person. And we'll just start coming up with getting really good at figuring out how many square feet are here, and we'll go from there. So, so this deck here, I'm pretty sure this one was stained by Proper Painting up north. I think they're in New York. But this deck was stained with Light Honey. But anyways, so this deck's about 20 by 30 wide, and that's 600 square feet. There's one big long step. I don't really know how you would figure that step other than just to include that into the square footage. So you got 6 inches on each face and then a foot here. So you could just add that into your square footage if you wanted. You got 66 feet of railing going around this thing, and 33 square feet of lattice. So you got about 6 inches of lattice going all the way around 3 sides of this deck. Anywhere where there's railing, you got this little bit of lattice down here. So multiply 1/2 by 66 feet of railing, 6 inches, and you get 33 square feet of lattice or skirting, whatever you call it. In our system, we call it skirting. And that's exactly how I would quote that job. That's how I would figure that. So I may pull up another screen here and let you guys see me quote a job. So bear with me for just a second, and I'm going to swap screen shares, and we'll go through and we'll do a test bid in our Job Nimbus program that we use. There's lots of software out there that you can use, and just pick one. So pick one and use it and just do your thing, So I'm going to swap screen shares and go over to Job Nimbus, and you guys will see my new screen, which is, where is it? There we go, Google Chrome. All right, if you don't mind, give me a thumbs up if you see my new screen here, which is going to look like some sort of a bidding software. And I've got a fake customer in here named Testing Johnson. So, all right, got some thumbs up, good deal. All right, so the way we do it, obviously we put a customer in here. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Some of you guys are using Job Nimbus, some of you aren't. We're not sponsored by these guys or anything. We pay a ton of money to use it. I don't know what it is. It's a couple $100 a month. but we got a lot of users on it. I think you can get it a lot cheaper than that. I think you can probably get it for $50 a month or something. And there's a lot of other programs. We use this one. Is it the best? Probably not, but we can use it. It works for us. So click add estimate, and that deck we just talked about, it was 300 square feet, or excuse me, 600 square feet. And we just went in and we created our own, all of our descriptions, all of our items. We just put them in here, and you know, they're there. You put them in once and they're always there forever. Anything you ever do, you put it in here. It'll save the description. It'll save the item name, the price, all of those things. So I'm going to do floor and landing staining, deck, floor, and landing staining. I'm going to add steps, deck steps staining. We're going to add deck railing staining. And we're going to add one more item. We had skirting, deck skirting staining. So what were the numbers again? We had 600 square feet there. We had one step, and you might go in and change that step because, like I said, it's a really long step. So instead of being, I think we're at $30 for a step, we might go to, you know, 40 or 50 or $60. But again, this is just not a hard project. So and then deck railing, we had 66 feet of railing, and we had 33 square feet of deck skirting lattice. So if you look right here where my cursor is, deck, floor, and landing, just to reinforce it, we're doing square footage. Deck steps, right here, you see the each. We're doing each. How many are there? Deck railing is LF. That's linear footage. We got 66 feet. Deck skirting staining, we got 33 square feet of that. So, and we can change our numbers here. Let's say maybe your market's $2 a square foot. It's going to change automatically. Maybe your market's hopefully not 26, but maybe your market's $6 a square foot. And there you are. You can see how quickly you can change these things. Really handy to have that ability to do that on the fly. I really like that. So you can save this estimate, and then you can just email it right out to your customer. But we'll go back and we'll do another deck. All right, I'm going to swap screens here. Let's check out another one. So here's a deck our guys stained. This is just a progress picture. It's a cedar tone deck. It's obviously not finished. Got some stuff in the yard, still got some tape on the house. But this is a deck that's about 10 by 12, which would be this section here. And then there's a 4 foot by 4 foot landing. I can clearly see that in the pictures. There is, so that's 136 square feet. If you add it all up, there's 15 steps here. Boom, 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 boom. You see them. And there's 48 feet of railing. And the way I come up with the railing numbers is I know that this is a 10-foot deck. It's 10 foot deep. It's 12 feet here. There's a 4 foot blank. Yeah, Mount Juliet. You're exactly right. That is in Mount Juliet. There's a 4 foot blank right here. But we've got 4 foot of railing over here. So I'm just going to say 10 feet on this side, then 12 feet, that's 22 feet. Then we got 15 steps. So typically you would say 15 feet on each side, or 15 foot. Every step equals a foot of railing is the way I do it. This one's kind of funny. Normally I would just add on 60 feet of railing, but I added a little less because there's a little bit less right here, just the way this deck is built. So we got 15 steps. And then you got, like I said, 15 steps, 48 feet of railing, and then 10 support posts. We charge a little more for support posts because these things take a little bit of time. And there's 4, right? Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3. And then on the against the house, there's another 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 posts there. I don't really count these guys. I'm counting the big ones. And you can really get as technical as you want. But let's go back over to our bidding software, and we will change it and see what this one comes up to. All right, so we had 136 square foot of railing, or excuse me, 136 square foot of floor and landing. We had 15 steps. We had 48 feet of railing. And we don't have deck skirting on this one, but we got post, and that's 15 steps. So I'm guessing that those posts are just a little bit taller than 8 feet. So I'm going to call those deck post tall, deck post staining tall. So there you have it. That is, depending on where you're going to bid this thing at, doesn't matter. You just need to figure your numbers. You need to figure your margins, but that's it. That's what this deck could be, anywhere in this range. And, maybe you charge $22 to do a step, and maybe you only charge $5 for railing. That's quite all right. But this software will really help you to, or not this software. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to sell you a software. I want to sell you the idea of staining decks and having a good time doing it and making it real simple. So a software helps with that. You can also do this with a spreadsheet. When I was an owner operator, I had a spreadsheet that did all this stuff for me. It's real simple. And I would just go in and plug the numbers in just like this. It would spit out a price, and I'd put it on a quote and email it to my customer. This one just does it all for us. It's just a lot faster. So let's look at another deck. And if anybody's got some questions while we're doing these, just holler, throw your hand up. And I normally save questions to the end, but maybe you got one for a specific deck or something, and we can definitely take it as we go. All right. Deck number 3. Ooh, here's an easy one. 10 foot by 20, 200 square feet. We got 34 feet of railing and 3 steps. That one is pretty darn simple. I'd say that each section here is about 8 feet. So 8, 16 plus 4 foot of steps. So that's 20 feet. And then about 10 feet wide here. Pretty simple. 10 by 20, 200 square feet. Then we got 10 foot of railing on the side, 10 foot of railing on the other side. And I would say if this is 20 feet, then we got 16 here, and then another roughly 3, 6. So we're 16 plus 26, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Look at there. I messed up. 42 feet of railing. And I'll add it again just so we're sure. And, pictures work really well. You can definitely tell with photos because we bid a lot of our stuff just off of photos. So 10, 20, 36 plus 6 is 42. Yep, there you go. 42 feet of railing and 3 steps. And we can punch that into the thing and get our price the same way, same exact way. What about this one? This one starts getting crazy. This is another one. I don't know where this is, but this is a job we did here in Nashville. At least we quoted it. I'm not sure if we closed this one or not, but this is there's 2 12 by 12 decks. So 12 foot by 12 foot here, 12 foot by 12 foot here. I see a 4 foot by 6 foot landing over here hanging off the back of it. And then down at the bottom, there's a 4 by 4 landing. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for those landings. There's a landing, here's a landing, and then we got 2 decks. And that's a 328 square foot of decking. And then if you count the steps, we got coming down here and then coming down off this bottom landing, that's 20 steps. If you add all the railing up, that's 12, 24, 48. And then we got 20 steps, 58, 68. And then we add these extra pieces in, and we come up with 106 feet of railing. And I would add it twice, just make sure, double check your math. And then if you start counting posts, these tall support posts that are going to the ground, and then these 3 support posts up here, we got 12 support posts. So that's really all I'm looking at on this. Obviously this upper deck can't be accessed from the outside. So we may need to add something onto our price for that liability of having to carry equipment or stain, or guys with dirty shoes, things like that in through people's houses. And you also may need to add something for just the convenience of giving your customer convenience, because they may not be able to be there at a certain time. You may have to wait for them or what have you. Another thing we got going on is this thing's 3 stories. You need a solid plan for how you're going to get up here and stain the railing on this one. Some guys can really do a good job of masking all of this off and spraying it. And then some guys are just going to be terrified to do that, scared to death. I think that my guys are probably going to spray this deck, most likely. And another question you need to ask this customer is, are we going to stain the bottom of this deck? Because this is technically sort of a living space. They may not want the bottom of this one done, but this one right here, where they're hanging out and partying with their friends, they may want the bottom of that one done. So you need to keep that in mind. Those are questions you need to be asking your clients when you do that. But let's go ahead and let's put this one in the computer and just see. Let's just see how it looks. And what I want you guys to realize here as we do this is, when we put these variables in here, does it look like that's a good price for that thing? And then maybe we can break one down with man hours. Let's do that and see what kind of margin we're at. And we'll dial it in and try to get to somebody's. We're going to use your guys' numbers, and we're going to dial it in and try to get ourselves to a 50% margin. All right, so I'm going to do a screen share swap, and if you guys don't mind giving me a thumbs up when you get the new screen, just to make sure you got it. And then we're going to bid this thing. Then we're going to get the calculator out, and we're going to use one of you guys' numbers and figure out what this would cost you, to do it if you were doing it, and then help you to find that sweet spot for you to bid it. All right. Oh, all right. So floor and landing staining. We got 328 square feet. Deck step staining. We have 20 steps, 106 feet of railing. Deck post staining tall. We had a bunch of those. We had 20 post for staining tall stuff, tall post. And I'm going to put prep work on this one because we need it. So there's prep work right there. Moving deck. So this description may change. Moving deck furniture off and back on deck. I may put a masking fee on something like this. I'm not saying we would absolutely do this, but I'm saying that these are just things that you can be thinking of. And maybe they want underside of deck stained. Here, we'll move this up down here. Okay, and so maybe they just want the bottom of the one deck done. So 12 by 12 is 144. So we're going to do 144 square feet on the bottom. Keep in mind, when you're staying in the bottom side of a deck, it's all overhead. It's all coming back down in your face or your guy's face. You can't be sending guys out there and abusing them. And you've got 3 times as much surface area. So if the floor is 144 square feet, you also have rafters every 16 inches that are 8, maybe 10 inches tall. And so you for every foot, you've got an extra 20 inches. So it's almost 3 times as much square footage. It's 3 times as much square footage and 10 times as much headache to stain the bottom side of a deck. It looks really good, but it's a lot of work, and you need to, that needs to be discussed up front. Are we bidding the bottom side? 90%, probably 95% of the decks we do in Nashville, we do not do the bottom side. We'll do everything you can see standing in level yard, which would be the wrap, the railing, the floors, the steps. Pretty often though, I will admit, we will start at this header right here, and we'll go all the way down and do the bottom of these steps. A lot of that really looks nice for a lot of decks, especially the ones that have the steps that run way out into the middle of the yard, and it just doesn't look good to the bottom of them not done. That is the one exception. We do charge, usually we are at the top of the bidding spectrum, so our prices are usually higher than most. And so we do feel like we'll make the call. We'll leave it up to our crews. Hey, if it's going to look bad and show stained here and then unstained on the steps, go ahead and hit the bottoms of them. And you leave that up to yourself. Yeah, cleaning the deck, Matthew Owens. Yeah, so obviously we can add those line items in. So for instance, this deck, I wouldn't call it a 5-step. I wouldn't call it a restoration. I would call it a 5-step process. And you can definitely add those. We did a webinar about 2 weeks ago on wood restoration, and it went over bidding it and doing this whole thing with wood restoration. So I'm not going to go into that on this webinar, but yes, certainly I would clean this. I would clean this deck. I would use, probably, depending on what the top of it looked like, I would use sodium metasilicate. I'd use our wood cleaner. The top one up here is going to be pretty dried out probably and looking bad, and same with these steps, and maybe this corner of the deck it will look a little bit worn. The stuff up underneath here probably not so bad, so we just try to blend all that in and make it look nice. But for bidding purposes, we'll add that in just so you can see, you know, there you go. So can we go back and see that webinar? Certainly can. And somebody else asked, being bid for one coat. The coats depend on your process. We generally will spray and back brush, or we'll just do one heavy coat with a brush if we're doing it all by hand. So it really just depends. With penetrating oil-based stains, we're going to full saturation. We want the wood to soak up as much stain as it's going to soak up, and then we want to stop. And if you get a little too much on there and there's a puddle, that's okay. Just want to brush that out or wipe it up when you're done. We find that wiping a deck with oil-based stains, whether it's Staining So Experts brand, if it's Ready Seal, if it's any of these other brands out there, if you wipe them, your callbacks go almost to zero. Because why do people call us back? Well, they call you back if you missed a spot. If you missed a spot, you got to go fix it. But a lot of times people will call you back with oil-based stains, maybe because maybe a week later, maybe they walked out there with their socks and they got a little color on the bottom of their sock. Usually that comes from over application. So if we just wipe the deck down when we're done, it takes 10 minutes, and we rub the stain in, we get any excess off the surface, we're golden. So I recommend you do that. No matter how many coats you do, just make sure you get a nice solid full saturation and wipe it off, and then go home. And I'll usually wipe the stair treads, and I'll usually wipe the top rail also, because people come over to your house, they lay their arms up on the thing and they're wearing their whites. You know, your neighbor's an attorney, and he comes over there, leans over the rail, and he gets it on his shirt. You know, it's just a good thing. All right, so this is a big deck, and it's coming in here with the numbers we've got punched in right now at $4,600. Do me a favor and give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you think that's too high or too cheap. And what we're doing here, we would be, I didn't add anything in. Let's just say we added $150 for masking, and we need to write a note on here. Bring tall ladder, and maybe shoe covers, deck accessible from inside only. All right, so maybe we just make that little note for our guys there. And this is a complicated one for us to quote based on just trying to figure our numbers out, but we're going to go ahead and give it a shot. So let's see, we got 328 square foot of decking. We're going to clean. I'm going to pull the staining or the cleaning quote out, because we're not talking about cleaning right now. We're just talking about staining. So I'm going to write my notes down here in the bottom so you can see it. So we got 328 square feet of decking, and I'm going to use Staining So Experts app to figure out how much stain we're going to use for this thing. And I'll show you guys the app later, because you can quote with the app, and you can figure out how much stain you need. You can order stain. You can do all of these things. Did I bid cleaning separate? We always bid cleaning together. You know, it would be a separate line item, which I just erased. But yeah, we bid cleaning on there as well. And I went over more of that in the wood restoration webinar. But now I got the iPhone out. I'm going to just start punching in some numbers. So we got a deck. It is 328 square feet. There are, let's see, we got 20 steps. So just punch 20 steps in there. And step width, those look like standard 4-foot wide steps. Railing, we got 106 feet of railing. And I'm guessing it. So one of the questions that our app will ask you is age. So sometimes an older deck will soak up more stain than a newer deck. So I'm going to say that this deck is probably 1 to 2 years old. I don't think it's that old. I think it's probably closer to the 2-year mark. So I'm going to say 0 to 2 years. And application type, brush or sprayer, I'm going to say that we're probably going to spray it. And I'm going to because it's tall, how much hose am I going to use? Probably going to use at least 100 feet of hose. Remember, we got to figure in, every 50 feet of hose uses, or excuse me, every 100 feet of hose uses about a gallon of stain, or holds about a gallon of stain. And are we going to stain the underside? Yes. And skirting, we don't have any skirting, but we do have support posts. How many of those did we have? We had 20 support posts. All right. Skirting and support post, 20 support post. Yeah, 6x6 is use a whole lot of stain. So I'm coming up with 25.2 gallons of stain if we spray it. And that's probably a little high, probably just a little high, but because it's figuring underside, let's get rid of that. So around 21. Yeah. So around 20 gallons of stain, 21 gallons of stain would do this job. I would show up to this job with 4 buckets, and I think I would come home with, half a bucket left over when we were finished. So let's write our line item here. And I want you guys, while I'm doing this, to be thinking just on the staining portion, how many man hours do you think it would take you to do for your company? How long would it take you to do this job? Write that in there. How many man hours? 24 man hours. All right. Who else? 14 man hours, 16 man hours. All right. Keep going. Give me some more man hours. How many is it going to take? So our stain cost is going to be 20 gallons of stain with state tax. If you're buying stain here as a contractor in Tennessee, you're paying $163 a bucket, and you're going to pay tax on that. We're like 9.75% tax. So our stain cost is going to be $717. I might even add into that some, in my cost of goods sold, I always add in a couple of things. I add in my stain usage. I add in my sundries. So did I use a brush that we're going to throw away? Did I use plastic that we're going to throw away? Did I use paint suits that we're going to throw away? What expendable things did I throw away that I need to bill to this job? Let's just say let's say we we used a respirator up on this job, and we used 3 stain suits, and we used a box of plastic. Let's just say we had $84 worth of sundries, and looks like 24 man hours, 14 man hours. So 14 hours, 2 guys, that's 28 man hours, 32 hours. Let me take a look and see what I think. I think if I sent 4 guys over there, nobody would be dying. And it would take them a 10-hour day. I would just put it down for 40 man hours. I mean, make it simple. I would go 40 man hours and make it easy on your guys. They'll probably get it done faster than that. But if you send 4 guys, they should be able to knock that out in a 10-hour day. Because we're doing the bottom side, we're having to go in and out of the house. We're having to mask. We're working on tall ladders. So I'm not afraid to say 40 man hours. And if we're $25 an hour, if you're paying your guys $25 an hour and you're paying payroll taxes and all that, you need to know what that add-on is. Maybe it's $5 extra, maybe it's $7 extra. But let's just say you're paying your guys 20 and your tax burden on them is about another $5. So 25 times 40 is $1,000. That, so our cost of goods sold, COGS, you're going to start seeing that as you start to run your business. You're going to see that COGS, that is cost of goods sold, which is basically labor and materials. So am I forgetting anything on the materials here or the labor? I don't think so. So we got 1,000 plus 84 plus 717.77 plus 717.77. So our cost of goods sold in this job is 1801.77. So there we go. And a simple way to get your 50% profit margin is to multiply that by 2. So 1801.77 times 2 is 3603.54. And let's see how this punches into our system. Times 2 equals 36. And I hope you guys can see my notes down here that I'm taking. Give me a thumbs up if you can, or let me know if you can't. But we're 3603.54 with 40 man hours, with $84 worth of sundries and $717 worth of stain usage. There's another thing that I hesitated to tell you, but I'm going to tell you the way I do it. I figure all my jobs, we job cost every job we do. I get these packets at the end of the day. I've got 3 in here that just showed up. My guys get the job done. They get a check. They write the how much stain was used, man hours. They write it all down for us, so I can go in and punch this in and find out how good I'm getting it, how good we're tracking. But there's one thing that I add in to this that most people don't, but I do. I add in fuel. You can argue this. Your accountant might argue with you on this one, but I think that fuel, I can't go do that job without fuel. It costs, so I bill that to the job. And the way I do it, I use the government's rule. That's like 0.555 or 0.65. I can't remember the number. It's in my computer. But let's just say I had to send 2 trucks 60 miles there to do this job. So that's 120 miles times point, we'll just say 0.6. And so fuel is another $72. And that is an accurate, pretty doggone accurate number right there. So let's see how that adds into our equation here. Plus 1801.77, 1873.77. So it's going to add a little bit to it. And the reason I'm showing you this and changing this on you is to show you that you can do this. So multiply that times 2, and we're 37, pretty dadgum close, 3747.54. There we are. So 3747.54 puts me at a 50% margin on this job, puts whoever, anybody who's paying this for their stain, anybody who's paying that for their sundries, paying that for their fuel, and who has 40 hours in this job is going to be $3,747.54 to make a 50% margin. And if we look over here, we've bid this pretty doggone close. We're at 37.67. So that, I would say, if you're looking for a 50% profit margin, there you go. That equates to $4 a square foot for staining, $22 per step, deck railing staining at $5 a foot, underside at $5 a square foot, the deck post at $27 a piece, about $75 worth of prep work added on, and $150 for masking. So how did we figure that? Not a bad deal. You know, we just kind of got lucky there, I think. So let's get rid of masking. Let's get rid of prep work. And let's just go with the variables that we know we can stick with here. Because maybe those are just add-ons. Maybe those are extras. So, and I just want you to see how we can play with the numbers here to try to get it up to where we are. So let's say we just make deck step staining $27 a piece. Maybe we bump our, that got us too high, didn't it? Let's go to $450 a square foot for staining. So we're $38.06. There's different things we can do to work, but what you're going to do is you're going to find a number that works for you, and you're going to start hitting that 50% margin every single time, and you'll get good at that. And Will Hirschhorn said he would add a credit card percentage to every job. Yeah, you can do that. Another thing you can do, if you got a credit card processor, they don't want to tell you this, Will, but if you call them and tell them to turn the fee over to the customer, to the client, they will do it. It doesn't matter who you're using, they will do it. They don't advertise that because they'll lose business, but they absolutely will put the fee on the buyer. And the reason I like to do that is, let's say we're doing $3 million a year worth of stain jobs, running $3 million worth of credit cards. Let's look at what that fee is. Let's just say 3.2 million. And I'm using a big number to illustrate this so you guys can see, but 3.2 million times 0.03 would be 3%. That'd be your credit card fees. That's $96,000 that is on your books. So it made, you know, maybe your goal was maybe your goal was 3 million and you hit 3 million, but 100 grand of it was credit card fees. Well, it didn't, you didn't actually hit your goal. You got 100 grand worth of credit card fees that are on your books that you never even got to touch. So if you put that fee over on the customer, it never hits your books. You charge them 3806, you get 3806, but your customer says, hey, you know, the credit card processor charges a fee. If you want to write me a check, that's fine. If you want to do a credit card, the processor does charge, and that's between you and them. So you can do that, or you can add it on. I mean, different ways to skin a cat, but I recently learned that tip and I thought I would share it with you guys. But anyways, you can run different profit margins, guys. It's there's a ton of different ways to do it. Most contractors nowadays that are really focused and really paying attention to what they're doing, that are in a growth stage, they're trying to grow their business, they're looking at a 50% margin. And some are looking at a lot higher. Some guys are still running on a 30% margin, but you got to get a higher profit margin generally with this type of work, because you do, you know, staining is really the only type, and Will taught me this, staining is the only business that you're probably going to have a callback in, right? When we stain stuff, you get on a project like this big complex one, somebody's probably going to miss a spot. You know, there's a chance of that, and you may have to go back. So you do need to plan on those things and be ready to be able to cover it if that comes up. And part of that is charging the right prices so you can serve your customers. All right, so let's move back over here to some decks. And guys, I'm going to take a drink because I swallowed a bug or something. All right, let's look at this deck. So here's a little deck that looks fun, right? Got vinyl lattice all the way around it, vinyl or aluminum railings. And this is one we cleaned and stained with our mahogany stain. Looks good. I will point out that our stains can be walked on right after they're applied usually. So that's a bonus. We knew we had the stain right when we got that. So it's a cool thing I'll point out. But here's another one. We got a 10 by 25 deck right here. We got a 6 foot by 9 foot landing on the outside of the deck. And then we got 11 steps. And then we got some extra masking. So now you guys know, how to bid this, right? You just need to know the square footage and the number of steps. And then what is your pain in the butt factor that you're going to add on to for having to be so careful around all this white lattice, and for having to, like, for instance, here, there's lattice up and down the steps. We could have left the lattice on. The customer said, leave the lattice on and don't worry about staining behind it. But it was white. We cleaned it. See how clean this stuff is? We used wood cleaner on this. And it would have looked like crap. So we went ahead and pulled the lattice down and stained all the underside. We stained up underneath it on the steps because it just looked better, and then put the lattice back up. So what is that headache factor? We got to get a ladder up in here around these bushes. We got to mask the bushes. We got to keep the lattice clean. So just one of those things you need to be aware of on these projects. So as long as you got your square footage, and your number of steps, you're solid. You know what that's going to cost, and then you can add on whatever that extra pain in the neck fee is. So once we get these prices set in here, it becomes pretty easy to start bidding some of these jobs, these bigger ones that come in and look crazy. that's kind of like, hey, that's not so bad. We can bid that. We can count the number of steps. We can measure the railings. We can even start adding line items into our system for skirting. I would call this right here skirting. Benches. We've got benches figured into our process. And like there's a beam up under here, the bottom side, I'm sure they want done on this. The floor space, support post. You start understanding when we use this formula, it becomes pretty simple to start itemizing these few things that we're looking at here, and it will give us a price. And you can do just what we did a few minutes ago, where you go back, you break it down by man hours, labor, material, cost of goods sold, and we can see, hey, are we hitting our numbers? Are we hitting right where we need to be? And eventually you'll get consistent at this, and you won't even have to do the math on it. You're going to start running the numbers in your system. You're going to spit out, whatever your price is per each line item, and you're going to be consistently hitting your margin or slightly above it every single time. And that's the idea of this webinar tonight, is to get you comfortable with that. So here's another one. It doesn't look so bad now, does it? So what have we got here? Let's break this one down. We've obviously got railings. We've got multiple kinds of railings. We've got a bottom level deck down here up underneath on the ground. Will's probably going to replace that one because it's probably rotted out. But anyways, we got a ground level deck. We've got some steps here, steps here. Looks like there's probably one step going up into this gazebo thing. Looks like there's benches in the gazebo. I'm sure the ceiling of the gazebo's got to be stained, which you could just put that line item in, figure out a price per square foot for that. And you got to go all the way around this trim around the outside. We got a swimming pool or maybe a hot tub here to mask, but there's not that many things. When we start breaking it down, we go, how many feet of railing is it? How many square feet is it? How many support posts is it? How many square feet of under the cover here has got to be done? And again, we can break this project down pretty easy. Do you guys feel confident that you could break one of these down now and bid it yet? Are we hitting a home run here with trying to make you understand how to bid these jobs? I want to make sure I'm doing my job right here and not leaving you high and dry. So if you got questions, let them rip here. So Matthew Owen says, do you ask for a deposit? I know in our fence company we do. Absolutely. We've got a lot of work in bidding a job. We've got a lot of work in scheduling. Let me see here. Let me go pull some work orders and I'll show you. All right. So as you start to get systems and processes into your business, you're going to have processes you have to do. So here's a work order. This is actually a contract that came in. I'll cover the name up so you can't see it, but it's a 60-inch horizontal board-on-board fence, 95 cents a square foot, $75 masking fee, $2,100 job. And the customer signed off on it. The customer has selected their color. There is notes on here. It says extra masking your carport. It took work. Somebody had to physically put these notes in here. And we've also got this sticker that you can see on here. It's got a bunch of check boxes and things like that. We put those stickers on, and the number one is approved. Is it approved? Did we get a sign off on it? If it's approved, then we have to manually go into our job numbers program and mark approved, and it'll kick it over into our QuickBooks so our bookkeeper can see it. So check, it's approved in the date. Schedule, is it scheduled? Check, it's got to go in the schedule. It's got to be scheduled, and a notification's got to be sent to our customer in a phone call. That's another step. Is the color selected? Pecan, yes. So we've got to get it to our operations guys that they need pecan stain for this job. Prep letter. So we've got a letter that we send out to tell you, hey, you need to mow the grass. You need to make sure the dog's up. You need to talk to the neighbor. We're going to stain the fence. We may mask some plants. We may wash your air conditioner or your windows, just all the different things. If there's a car in the driveway, we may put a car cover on it. Just all the things that they need to know about. Remove birdhouses and lights from the fence. pick up the dog crap out of the yard before we get there. And another checkbox here is work order. Now we got to prepare, we got to turn this estimate, this proposal into a work order for our crews. Any notes that need to be taken care of, like, hey, bring an extra ladder. The neighbors have a big dog and they're out of town, but the dog's in the backyard. Whatever notes the crew needs to know when they get there, you got to put it on the work order. And then invoice, we go ahead and prepare an invoice ahead of time. And then we take a deposit. There's a checkbox for that. Call ahead, which would be before afternoon, the day before. We got to call them ahead, and then complete. This one is completed. So next, I'm going to show you one more thing before I get back into the deposit. So here's more. This is one day's jobs here. So this is orange would be stain jobs, blue would be cleaning jobs. So here's another thing. She's put these together in every job that we call this a job packet. There's a work order, there's an invoice, and there is an envelope for the customer that has information on our maintenance plan. It has their invoice, has things like that in there. That's a deck job. If there's a fence job, then it will also have a fence sign in the packet. So we don't leave the signs on the truck. We put the sign in the work order packet, so they got it. So do you think doing all of the work that we're doing before we ever even get there, do you think we should charge a deposit? So point being, yes, we do charge a deposit, and that's why we charge a deposit, because it's a lot of freaking work to get just to get ready to prepare to do the job. Now, I know a lot of you guys don't do all those things. I know a lot of you guys you order the stain, you got a notebook, and you say, hey, just remind me in the morning, the day before. You make a note, of all the things you need on your truck to make sure you're going, and you hit the road and you go, and it's all you. I understand that, but I still think you need to get a deposit. We both need skin in the game. Nothing worse than doing all that work, and then they say, you call them to say, hey, we're coming out tomorrow. We'll see you. We're right on schedule. We'll be there. And they say, oh, last weekend there was some kid in the neighborhood staining fences, and he just went ahead and did it for me, man. I'm sorry. And you're sitting there with stain. You got time. You got opportunity cost where you lost out because you couldn't do another job instead. So yeah, man, charge a deposit. Nothing wrong with that. Professionals charge deposits. What other questions do you guys have on deck staining jobs? Give me give me the 3 things that are the most important things in the formula for deck staining. What do you need to know? Name them, punch them in there for me, guys. Access, square foot, railings, and steps. Eric, you nailed it. That's exactly right. Congratulations, man. Somebody paid attention, right? I appreciate that. So good. That's exactly right. Those are your basics. And then we can build onto that with railing, or with support post, with skirting, things like that. Those are secondary, but your average deck, square footage, steps, and linear foot of railing is all you need. Got a question here from Brett. He says, are you accounting for any prep in those calculations? How do you bid the variations in prep requirements from deck to deck, as they can be much different? So I'm not sure, Brett, if you don't mind clarify this. But if you don't mind clarifying, do you mean like washing, restoring, things like that? Am I figuring that into my stain price? Because if that's the question, no. Washing or restoring or sanding a deck would be extra line items. We would charge more for that. Sanding a deck takes about as long as it takes to stain one, and washing it obviously is a little bit faster, but you need to have your numbers in there for that as well. And you can figure that the same way. Figure out what it's going to cost you to do it. If you're doing it yourself, what's it? You still need to be saying, hey, if it takes me 4 hours, what am I worth? Am I worth $20 an hour? Am I worth $30 an hour? Am I worth $50 an hour? What are you worth? What's it going to cost you to pay somebody to do the same job you're doing? And you need to put that in as your cost of goods sold. And you still need to be running 50% margin if you're an owner operator, in my opinion. On the website, would you suggest? Yeah, so semi-solid deck stain, it's in the regular deck stain listings. Just pick the colors, semi-solids, colors, Palomino, Auburn, chocolate, and sable, I think are the deck stains. And we're working on I come up with a really cool dryer that's a natural occurring dryer. It's a mineral that we're going to dry our gray deck stains with. So I'm really excited about that. I wanted to do a gray deck stain without a bunch of really nasty chemicals, and I think we figured it out. So gray deck stain coming soon. But anyways, if you selected the stain and the customer really hates it, can you immediately put another coat to darken it or diminish the red orange? Yes and no. For instance, if you stain the deck, the color right here that's in this picture, and the customer absolutely hated it and they wanted to change it to walnut, you could put another coat of walnut on, but it's not going to be as dark as walnut would have been on raw wood. So generally speaking, you need to go a shade darker than you plan to go if you're going over it. But I really don't recommend doing that, because you've already sealed the wood. So the walnut's not going to penetrate past where the pecan or the cedar tone, whatever it is that you put on there. So we really get our customers to sign off up front. I mean, we never, ever, ever have a customer, knock on wood, I don't want to say never, one time per year, and we're doing hundreds of jobs a year, do we get a customer say, I don't want that color, that I didn't like it, I want to change it, because we make them sign off on it. They got to put their initials beside it. They got to sign off on the work order. They got to write the color in the box in their handwriting. And I'm not changing colors. I just put that up front. Hey, you pick the color and that's what we're doing. And I think that comes with confidence. Before, when I was first starting, I was very unsure, and customers would pick up on that and they would see that, oh, I can run over this guy. And so when they think they can run over you, they will. And I see that a lot with guys that are just starting out. They'll get a customer that'll change the color on them 3 times, ripping them back and forth. And I just wouldn't put up with that. You can't do it. You got to treat your customer right, but they got to treat you right as well. And back to that question from Brett, how are you taking care of various prep requirements? We know that every deck is going to have a set amount of prep work. You know, you got to get to the job. You got to set your equipment up. You got to mix your stain. You got to cut it in. That's pretty standard. I figure that's in our price per square foot. It covers that. A little bit of masking. I'm not going to charge for masking behind the house if I'm going to spray it, because I'm going to save time by spraying. So I need to be dropping my drop cloths. I need to be putting my plastic up. I need to be wetting things down, whatever I have to do. And that's included. I'm going to get the job done with less man hours. So I don't really need to charge for more masking. But if I get one where there's swimming pools, there's travertine pool decks, there's hardy board house and it's 3 stories like the one we looked at in this last picture here. Am I going to charge a prep fee? Yes. Am I going to charge a prep fee for something like this? Probably. This one's got a lot more masking to do. And again, you can just figure that into your cost of goods sold as part of your labor cost if you want. And pretty simple. And then also, you know, some guys just say, you know what, that's going to be a pain in the neck. I don't want to do it. And so they throw some crazy number out there, and you know, that works too. Those are the ones you throw them out and you don't want to get them, and then you get them, seems to be. So we make them sign off. Good. Brett said that answered his prep question. Same here. We make them sign off. Some of you guys may not know Will Hirschhorn. He's a really big stain contractor out of San Antonio Stain and Seal. I think Will's been in it for 17 or maybe 20 years, sort of a mentor of mine. How many customers a year do you get that just balk about the color? I mean, or what percentage? Is it a percentage? I'm guessing it's a very low percentage, probably because you got the confidence and the cojones to say, you pick your color, that's it. So if you'll throw that in there, Will, 5 to 10 a year. So I would say that's what, 1%, less than 1%, probably what it looks like. All right. What other questions you guys got? Who's comfortable to go bid some decks this week? All right. Well, I'm going to start working my way out of this thing. I'm going to start going through some of the other stuff I want you guys to see, and we'll go from there. So remember, the formula works well to be consistent in your bidding. That's what we want to do. We want to get consistency. The way I used to bid a deck was I just looked at it and I said, that feels like a $700 deck. And it was stressful. So now I don't really bid much anymore. I bid maybe 10% of the jobs that we do, and other people in our office bid it. And this is what they use. And they're not coming to me with questions all the time. They're bidding their jobs and they're getting them right. And they're doing a good job. So this will work for you, and it will work to help you scale your business. I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but this is just the way that we do it. You need to figure in your added cost for different levels of difficulty, obviously: restoration, repairs, solid stains, strip jobs, masking, screen rooms, pools, etc. Don't like screen rooms. It's a lot of work. Bidding on site and with pictures, this formula works both ways. So now I'm going to tell you about our app, because I alluded to the app earlier and I used it to calculate how much stain we needed. We made an app so you could quote your job, so you could calculate how much stain you needed, just to take the guesswork out of the stuff that we do on a daily basis. And so let's talk about it. What does the app do? I'm going to actually play a video here and let you guys watch it. And I'm going to speak through it, and I'm going to have to speak fast because I buzzed through this thing fast, but I want you to see this app, what it does. And I'm going to make the screen nice and big so you can see it. Some of you old veterans aren't going to want to use this because you already know how to figure your stain. But some of you new guys may really, really enjoy this tool. So here we go. So there's the little Stain and Seal app. Obviously, we have articles, we have videos, we have different things you can watch and learn. You can access Staining University Facebook page. But if you click on that, you can start measuring, dropping pins, where's the fence, can do square footage or linear footage. And then we go into the fence stain calculator. And I'm gonna back up just a little bit because that thing is really moving fast. So there's our stain calculator. Pause. So the pins we dropped showed 295 feet. There's a selector here if we want to stain both sides. If you wanted to add a section like a 4-foot fence, like maybe there was a 4-foot fence also, and maybe or a 4-rail, or maybe one fence was only one side, so you could add a section of the same fence and do one side on one and both sides on the other. And that's what that add a section is for. Then we can select our fence style. Got different styles of fence in there. Obviously, we got the post height deal, and or the fence height, and then we got an option for steel posts. Some of you guys are in markets with steel post, and it uses less stain when you got steel post. And then age of fence. Obviously, a 5-year-old fence is going to use a little more stain than a brand new fence. And we got different variables there. You can select the species of wood, whether it be what have you. We got 4 or 5 species in there, and then sprayer or brush. Obviously use a sprayer, it's going to use less stain. And then hose length. How much hose is it going to take you to use, or how much hose are you going to use? Remember, every 100 feet is a gallon of stain. So we figure that in as well. There's our species of wood, hose selector. So we tried to take out all the stops on this thing and get it exactly the way it needs to be, so you don't forget anything. But another cool thing about this, obviously this was 295 feet of shadow box fence. Shadow box uses a lot of stain. We're going to spray it with a 150-foot hose. Going to need around 49 gallons of stain, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. I would say we're going to err. This app, actually, I'm not going to say, I guarantee you this app's going to err just a little bit on the high side, because I don't want you running out of stain. There's some tip recommendations. Wood moisture content recommendations, but also you're going to see down at the bottom here, 44, 20, 25. There's a price there. You can put your own price in this calculator here for every line item that we talk about, for each style of fence, for each object, for the square footage, for the linear foot of railing, and for the number of steps, for the deck skirting, for the support post. All of those things are in here. So once you figure out your numbers, even if you don't have a job Nimbus program, you can get this free app for iOS, Droid coming soon. But you can get this free app and it'll do everything that the job Nimbus will do for you, and it'll do it for free. So let's keep watching and show the back end. So here's where you punch in all your prices. We can add more, but those are just the basic ones. And let's go check out what else it will do. You can also, for your fence builders, you can figure out how much post saver sleeves or fence armor you need. And I'll go back to that really quick so you can see it. You just, how long is the panel, how many, and it'll tell you how many posts it is. And then obviously you can buy your fence armor post savers right there on the app as well. And if we keep moving along, we'll go to the deck measuring tool. And you can do square footage with the map, or you can just punch in the square footage yourself. And let's just talk about a 250 square foot deck. How many steps are there? How wide are the steps? How many feet of railing? And again, we've got the age of the fence or the deck, age, and the length of your hose for your sprayer. And then we got some advanced options. Do you want to stain the underside? Do you have skirting? Do you have support post to stain? And you can go in there and set pricing for all of these things. And there you go. It's saying 9.7 gallons of stain. And it was saying around, I didn't see the price, $1,650. And then you can go in, if you want to buy the stain, you can go buy it right there on the app as well. So it makes it handy. And you can also share that quote with a customer via text message or email. So pretty cool thing. And that's a free app just to help you guys out. It's sort of your in-field assistant. So if you think you want to get that, just go to the App Store and type in Stain and Seal Experts. Appreciate you guys coming and watching this, man. It means the world to me for you guys to hang out with me. The Android app is probably fourth quarter 2021. We'll have it fourth quarter this year. So it's coming soon. And we've got an Android phone, but it's just totally different software. You cannot, it adds two totally different apps. So that's the way it goes. But Stain and Seal Experts, stain and sealers are perfect for fencing, decking, siding, and more. We make transparent, semi-transparent, semi-solid, and solid color stains. We do oil-based and water-based formulas. We're 50 state compliant, and we sell our stains and distribute them. We have distributors all through the US and Canada. We also carry black fence paint for some of you guys in those black fence paint markets. And our stains contain on the low end, conservatively, 73% more pigment and 40% more oil than other stains. We provide a higher quality and lower VOC stain. And the reason is because I got to go out there and use this stuff. Our guys have got to go use it. You got to use it. I don't want this stuff that's going to just burn our lungs with solvents and carcinogens. So our stains don't have an odor. They don't smell bad. They work really well in a really rich color. I think you guys should definitely give it a shot if you're thinking about this. So real good stain, man. We appreciate you guys watching and support our dealers. We do have dealers almost every state now. And you can find our dealer list at realgoodstain.com. But if you don't have a dealer close to you, we will ship you your order for free. Just send it to orders@stainandsealexperts.com or go right online and place the order. And for some of you guys that are new, a lot of you guys don't know this. Two more things before we get off here. One, there's an offer at the end, so hang tight. We're just almost finished. But we've got a tech line here we got 14 people in this office that know what's going on with applying coatings, with power washing, with stripping jobs, with sanding decks, troubleshooting. So with our products and with multiple other products. So if you got a question, if you're in a tight spot on a job, you can call our office. You can also go to the Staining University Facebook group, and I urge you to join that. I urge you also to join our YouTube channel. We're really trying to grow our YouTube stuff, and there's tons of educational stuff on there and more every day. We have a full-time YouTube person now, so hopefully the videos will really start coming. And if you order stain from us direct, we're going to ship it the same day. If you get your order in fast, before 3 p.m., we're going to ship it fast, and it will be out the door with tracking the same day. If you want to be a dealer, we're looking for suppliers. We're looking for lumber stores, power wash stores, paint stores, etc., fence companies, deck companies, you name it. We're looking to work with good people like you guys. So thanks. If you got any more questions, come on and bring them to me. If not, we're just going to sign off, and we will get this thing done and sent out to you in email form for your so you can get a copy of it, guys. I really appreciate it. Any questions? We still got a full house here. We got a ton of people in this thing. So I want to start thanking you guys. Brett, Brian, Chris, Dawn, Eric, Jerry, Jacob, James, Kane, Mason, Madison, Matthew, Michael, Mitch, Mike, Office, Ryan, Tad, Trent, and Will. I appreciate you guys being here. I really do. And let's talk about a few other things. All right, we've got some questions coming in. Where to find the RackX 1221? We're working with Graco to be a dealer for that. We're not having a ton of luck with it because it's just really slow to work with a big company. We have the Graco, or excuse me, we have the Titan 1223s in stock, but they're high pressure, so they put a little more overspray than I prefer because I can get the better ones. But the 1221s, we do just like you guys do. We get on the internet, we buy 10 of them at a time, and we wear them out and we order them again. So they're a great tip. I prefer the 1223, but we've got a bunch of 1221s too, so they both work well. Anything else? Can you send us a link to the webinar on pricing the restoration you did? Yeah, did you sign up for that one? You should have got a copy of it if you signed up. I'll look into that and see if we can get that one sent out to you guys as well. Thanks. All right, guys. I am going to go spend some time with my beautiful wife and kids. Have a great night. I appreciate you. I'll see you guys soon.